Post-training notice. National First-Class Registered Exorcist. Extra Chapter. The Dragon of the Tides, Part 6. The waves surged in the lake, and in the dark night, the lake's waters swirled into a whirlpool. The young man stood by the lake, his voice slightly louder, speaking in strange syllables. Xiaoduo's heart was pounding wildly as he hid behind a tree, not even daring to breathe. The young man spoke to the lake, but the immortal Jiao seemed unwilling to come out. There was a faint hint of pleading in the young man's voice, but the immortal Jiao still didn't appear. After a moment, he took out a strange magical artifact. Xiaoduo took a step forward and saw that it was a scroll. The scroll glowed with light, reflecting the young man's face. There was a rustling sound in the bushes by the lake, and the young man stopped chanting, nervously turning his head and looking around, but the bushes were a field of darkness. Xiaoduo hurriedly gestured for Lang Dog to hide behind the tree. Lang Dog snorted and stuck out his tongue while Xiaoduo held him. The person and the dog crouched behind the bushes. Lang Dog stuck half of his head from behind the tree and was pushed down by Xiaoduo. The young man hesitated for a moment, observed things for a long time, then turned around and continued his spell. As the speed of the chant increased, blue light appeared on the lake surface, and the lakeside area looked like a fairy tale wonderland, with countless flashing blue dots flying up and merging into the lake. The young man's voice carried many complex emotions, as if reading an elegy, and a shimmering tentacle appeared on his body, entangling about and reaching into the lake. The light grew stronger and stronger, illuminating the dense forest like it was day, and the young man's voice became increasingly tense. The earth grew quiet, except for the elegy floating through the air. Because in 1,000 years, the world will no longer have me, oh, I cannot hold your hand affectionately. Xiaoduo's phone rang, and the caller was Chi Wei. The young man was so frightened that he broke off the elegy, turned around, and looked around in disbelief. Xiaoduo secretly let out a crap, then yelled out, "Charge!" Lang Dog immediately pounced forward, and Xiaoduo answered the phone and shouted, "I'm by your family's lake." Then he hung up and rushed forward. The young man was caught off guard, and was thrown onto the ground by Lang Dog. He then flipped over and threw Lang Dog off, pushing him aside. Lang Dog transformed into a human and rushed forward 3 steps, grabbing the young man in a headlock from behind. Immediately after that, Lang Dog let out a loud cry and quickly let go. He was on fire, and rushed to the lake to extinguish it. Xiaoduo rushed closer. The young man's left hand shone with a blazing flame, pushing it towards Xiaoduo's face. Right as Xiaoduo brushed past the young man's palm full of fire brushed past Xiaoduo. The scorching force swept over Xiaoduo's face. The next moment, Xiaoduo put his right hand on the young man's wrist and leaned over. His left foot crisscrossed over his right foot, and his shoulder slammed into the young man's chest. With this fierce impact, the young man lost his balance and fell onto his back. However, Xiaoduo was not satisfied, dragging his left wrist to bring him back up again, throwing him over his shoulder. The young man was like a sandbag, thrown out flying by Xiaoduo, and he plunged into the mud head first. Xiaoduo gestured and shouted, "Who are you?" The young man turned his head, pushed his hands forward, and a space opened in front of his palm, transforming into a strange light. An attack spell. Xiaoduo's pupils suddenly contracted. He immediately turned around, grabbed onto Lang Dog who had just made it to shore, and jumped into the lake together. In an instant, the young man was like a human bomb, with countless burning insects exploding around him. In a split second, they turned around and, like a swarm of red meteors, chased after Xiaoduo. As soon as Xiaoduo entered the water, his whole body trembled with the cold. Lang Dog transformed into a human in the water, and dove towards the deeper part of the lake while dragging Xiaoduo with one hand. A huge chiao was glowing with blue light in the lake, occasionally struggling and convulsing. Zhi Xiaoduo spat out a string of bubbles and stared at the immortal Qiao, realizing a very serious problem. What did that person do to the immortal Qiao? The blue light grew stronger and stronger, and Zhi Xiaoduo swam towards the immortal Qiao. Suddenly, countless white tentacles appeared behind him, wrapping around him and dragging him up to the surface of the lake. Zhi Xiaoduo was dragged flying straight out of the lake, and he tried to turn around in mid-air. He just saw that he was flying towards the young man, and he was about to turn around and kick at him, but the young man pulled his hands back. Zhi Xiaoduo suddenly felt his whole body lose control and fall to the ground. You. Zhi Xiaoduo had just gotten up, and all the tentacles around him disappeared. The young man pulled back with both his hands, and Zhi Xiaoduo's whole body was under his control. He staggered a few steps, struggling to get out of the spell, but was firmly restrained by the young man. The young man recited an incantation quickly, obviously not giving up on casting his spell. Zhi Xiaoduo was immediately fixed on the ground in a running position. Bark, bark, bark. Lang Dog came ashore to rescue Zhi Xiaoduo, but the young man reached out a hand, and he was also controlled. Who's there? With a roar, Qi Wei arrived, and a fire dragon flew out, illuminating the night sky by the lake. The bodyguards in the villa rushed out, only to discover the situation by the lake. Huge emotions billowed in Zhi Xiaoduo's heart, but he couldn't move a step. He couldn't even open his mouth, and he just stood dumbly to the side, cursing the guy countless times in his head. However, in the next moment, Zhi Xiaoduo had already gone from anger to feeling threatened. Qi Wei clasped his hands, and a roaring water dragon flew out. The young man withdrew and floated in mid-air, chanted an incantation, and then opened a third eye on his forehead. His arms split into 4 arms, and the second arm of his left held a trident. He turned the trident and forcefully thrust it towards the water dragon. The water dragon exploded in midair, bursting into droplets of water. Damn it! Zhi Xiaoduo's heart flipped, and he immediately realized that this guy had summoned a god, which they absolutely couldn't provoke. Never mind himself, even Xiang Chen might not be able to beat him. Qi Wei's dragon was shattered, and he was momentarily stunned, before he then chased after him. The young man waved his hand and millions of intangible tentacles sprouted. At that moment, Zhi Xiaoduo realized that he could move. That young man could only restrain one person at a time. Zhi Xiaoduo rushed forward and kicked the young man. The young man's spell was broken, and he couldn't mind Qi Wei anymore. He pulled back his hand and dragged Zhi Xiaoduo to his side. Zhi Xiaoduo lost control again and rushed towards Qi Wei. Ah! Zhi Xiaoduo shouted loudly. Qi Wei was startled and quickly took back his fire dragon. Zhi Xiaoduo pounced and collided with Qi Wei. Qi Wei dared not attack Zhi Xiaoduo and was thrown to the ground. Zhi Xiaoduo grabbed Qi Wei's neck with both hands. Qi Wei! Zhi Xiaoduo, hurry up and run. He's controlling my body. After being controlled, Zhi Xiaoduo's strength was surprisingly strong. Qi Wei's face turned red, and he wrenched away Zhi Xiaoduo's wrist, finally hit him in the chest and kicking him away. Sorry! Qi Wei exclaimed, then formed a seal and shot a fire dragon towards the young man. Zhi Xiaoduo ran towards the young man and stopped in front of Qi Wei. The two of them were being played in circles, and Qi Wei couldn't do anything to the young man. The young man turned around and ran, leading Zhi Xiaoduo to run wildly on the hillside. Zhi Xiaoduo stumbled and briefly regained control of his body. He rolled down through the bushes on the hillside with his head in his arms, getting beat up from the fall. Right as his head was spinning, he was pulled in by the young man again and turned into a puppet in his hands, covering his escape. Zhi Xiaoduo's head was spinning, and he didn't know where he had run to. Then, the young man threw something and suddenly a door appeared. Just as he rushed through the door with Zhi Xiaoduo, a person suddenly appeared behind him, reaching out and grabbing Zhi Xiaoduo's collar. Zhi Ziaduo couldn't turn back. The young man crossed through the door, but Zhi Ziaduo was firmly held by that hand. "Come back," a man's voice said. At the last moment, Zhi Ziaduo was pulled out backwards, the door closed, and the young man suddenly turned his head with a surprised glance. The spell on Zhi Ziaduo's body was forcibly disconnected as they separated, and he fell to the ground. "Are you okay?" the man's voice said behind him. Zhi Ziaduo was dizzy from the fall, and he had twisted his foot, but he thought to himself, "Thank goodness." As he was about to turn his head, the man behind him suddenly said, "Please don't turn around, I can't face you head on." "Thank you." Zhi Ziaduo thought for a moment, "No, who is this?" Zhi Ziaduo tried his best to control himself from just turning around to face the man, and his mind was buzzing as he asked, "Are you a ghost?" "No." The man explained, "The power of your Anja chakra is too strong. It bears the aura of an azure dragon, which will suppress me." Zhi Ziaduo understood in an instant. "The ring. It must be because of the ring I made, because the other one is on Xiang Cheng's body." The two magical artifacts would resonate with each other, passing on the power of his Anja chakra to Xiang Cheng, and also giving him a bit of Xiang Cheng's aura. When he heard suppressed, Zhi Ziaduo vaguely guessed the identity of the man behind him. "Are you the immortal Qiao?" Zhi Ziaduo asked. "Have you forgotten me?" The man's voice said, "We met not long ago." "Ah." Zhi Ziaduo said in confusion, "Did we?" "On the high seas," the man replied, "I was the Jiao under Qi Wei's feet. Ordinary people call me a dragon, but I am not a real dragon." "Ah." Zhi Ziaduo said, "So it's you." "Wu," the man's voice said, "I'm sorry for getting you involved. Did you sprain your foot? Get up and move it around a bit." Zhi Ziaduo took a few steps and said, "I can still move, it's okay." He couldn't turn his head back, but he felt the immortal Jiao behind him. Zhi Ziaduo asked, "Immortal Jiao, are you okay?" "My name is Yuju," the man replied. "If you can walk, let's continue walking and find the people of the Qi family." "What happened just now?" Zhi Ziaduo asked. Yuju sighed and didn't speak. Zhi Ziaduo asked, "Who was that guy?" "That's the successor of a certain branch of the Qi family," Yuju replied behind Zhi Ziaduo. "He came to seek a promise that was made many years ago, just because I was the one who appointed the ancestors of the Qi family." "What successor?" "He wants to invite me to go to Nanyang." Zhi Ziaduo, "Have you decided to follow them?" It had just rained, and Zhi Ziaduo slipped. Yuju immediately said, "Be careful. I can't touch you." Zhi Ziaduo hurriedly said, "It's okay." Yuju did not answer Zhi Ziaduo's question. Zhi Ziaduo cautiously walked up part of the staircase and said, "Just now, were you the one calling me here?" "Yes," Yuju said behind Zhi Ziaduo, "because..." Suddenly, a flash of light lit up the sky, and an azure dragon flew straight down from the dark clouds. It was accompanied by lightning that slammed into the area by the Qi family's villa, making the earth tremble under the dragon's power for miles around. The place where the azure dragon had landed looked like a tsunami had blown through, with leaves flying everywhere. Zhi Ziaduo, Xiang Cheng. Yuju disappeared in an instant. In Qi Wei's home, Xiang Cheng, Chen Zhen, and Zhi Ziaduo sat in the living room. Zhi Ziaduo rested one foot on Xiang Cheng's knee, as Xiang Cheng carefully massaged his foot. "Is it this person?" Qi Wei took out a picture for him to see. "That's him." Zhi Ziaduo recognized him. The young man who had just been by the lake was a frail child in the photo, wearing a white shirt and pants. He stood next to Qi Wei and was taking a group picture with the whole Qi family. "How long ago was this photo taken?" Chen Zhen asked. 10 years ago, Qi Wei said. His name was transliterated to be Datuk Jingxiu. He is a descendant of the Qi family in Malaysia. Xiang Cheng sighed and glanced at Chen Zhen. While Chen Zhen was thinking, Zhi Ziaduo seemed to see a loading progress bar above their heads. Xiang Cheng was a bit faster than Chen Zhen, loading up everything sooner. After thinking about it, he was about to speak up. Zhi Ziaduo thought to himself, and now we're getting to the bottom of this. However, Xiang Cheng did not analyze the situation and instead asked Zhi Ziaduo, "What did Yu Ju want from you?" He didn't say, Zhi Ziaduo said. "Maybe he wanted to ask me for help." I guess, listening to his tone, he seemed very embarrassed, feeling like he was troubling me. Qi Wei said, "I've only seen the immortal Jiao once ever since I was a child, and that was just his back. What did you guys discover?" Chen Zhen looked at Xiang Cheng, but Xiang Cheng pretended not to see him. Chen Zhen had no choice but to say to Xiang Cheng, "Tell me what your subordinates found out, Ba." "I forgot," Xiang Cheng said solemnly. "What did you just say?" "Chen Zhen." Qi Wei looked at Chen Zhen and then at Xiang Cheng, frowning and then asked, "Did you discover anything bad?" Xiang Cheng remained silent and massaged Zhi Ziaduo's ankle. "Zhi Ziaduo." Xiang Cheng raised his eyebrows and smiled at Zhi Ziaduo, his expression very ambiguous. Talk, talk, talk," Qi Wei frowned and said, "What are you building the suspense up for?" Chen Zhen had to answer, "Prepare yourself." "Is Han Ro better?" Qi Wei asked. "She's fine," Chen Zhen said. "She still hasn't woken up yet." Qi Wei asked, "Is she in any life-threatening danger?" Zhi Ziaduo. Chen Zhen thought for a moment and said, "In theory, after resolving this matter, there might be, but, maybe she won't be the person you've gotten to like when she wakes up." Qi Wei said in confusion, "Ah. It wasn't Han Ro at all who you were dating," Chen Zhen finally said, "it was your distant cousin. He's a black magician from Malaysia and he used Nyo magic to control Han Ro. Kita and us have found his hiding place in the Baiyun district. As for why he did it? Maybe. I don't know," Chen Zhen thought for a moment and said. Xiang Cheng's mouth twitched slightly, and Zhi Ziaduo thought to himself, "You two must know why." Qi Wei's expression grew a bit strange, and he couldn't speak for a while. Everyone was quiet. Chen Zhen and Xiang Cheng looked at each other, and Zhi Ziaduo thought to himself, "This is really too shocking. This." Qi Wei reflexively made a gesture with one hand, his expression seemingly wanting to laugh as he felt everything was really absurd. "Don't mess around," Qi Wei said to Chen Zhen. "Is this really the case?" "Yes," Xiang Cheng said. "Let him digest this for a bit," Chen Zhen said. "It's a bit difficult to accept, but we found a prop at his house. This is just Xiao Lang's preliminary judgment, and he had me bring it to Ziaduo for identification." Chen Zhen took out a stack of masks from his bag and handed them over to Zhi Ziaduo. Zhi Ziaduo didn't put them on, just holding them in his hand while looking back and forth. "Is this Nyo magic?" Zhi Ziaduo asked. "It's for casting spells." There was a peculiar inscription inside the mask, and Zhi Ziaduo exclaimed in surprise, saying, "It's a grafting talisman, but the materials have been changed out." "But there was one thing Xiao Lang couldn't figure out," Chen Zhen said. "Why is it a young man? Plainly in the surveillance videos, it was a middle-aged man. It's very simple." Zhi Ziaduo now fully understood, unfolded the mask, and said, "Let's assume that after wearing each mask, he can control a person. By wearing one of them, he can control the middle-aged man's face, and then use the puppetry magic to control his body. After transplanting onto the middle-aged person, he manipulates the middle-aged person to put on the mask that controls Han Ro." Zhi Ziaduo said, "Then you can manipulate the first doll into manipulating the second doll." Chen Zhen. Xiang Cheng nodded, and the three of them looked at Qi Wei again. Qi Wei wasn't listening at all, his brain seeming to blue screen, and he said to himself, "So it's like that. That's really embarrassing. Now it was Ji Ziaduo's turn to be surprised. It seemed that Qi Wei hadn't suffered much of a blow, or that the blow wasn't hitting him quite right. It couldn't be because he found out that the girl he liked was actually possessed by a man, so he felt very shocked, right? But I can't break his spell, Ji Ziaduo said. This spell is too complex, and only by finding the person who cast it can it be broken. Kita is waiting at his house, Xiang Cheng said. Don't worry, he can't go far. I am going out for a while, Qi Wei said, and then got up and left. Chi. Ji Ziaduo shouted. The three of them leaned against the sofa, and Xiang Cheng went to get a drink. He opened the refrigerator door and casually said, "You shouldn't have told him." Chen Zhen replied, "If we didn't tell him, when Hanro wakes up and he discovers it for himself, that might not be good either." Xiang Cheng came over with an iced beer and placed it on Ji Ziaduo's ankle. Ji Ziaduo said, "Why did Datuk Jingxiu do this?" "For the power of the immortal Qiao," Chen Zhen said, "I know very little about matters of the Qi family." "What is a Jiao really?" "That is a Jiao king who has not yet become a dragon," Ji Ziaduo explained. "I studied with Elder Zheng, so I know a bit about recognizing dragons. Its previous form was a venomous snake, which is different from a snake like the ba snake. It cultivated for many years and became a Qiao. The ancestor of the Qi family happened to be the person to canonize it, and they met at that time." "What does canonize mean?" Chen Zhen asked. "It's a ritual of sorts," Ji Ziaduo explained. "Venomous snakes cultivate into Qiao, and Qiao cultivate into dragons. When the venomous snake cultivates into a Qiao, there needs to be someone with the proper connections to witness its transformation and canonize it. Because humans are the spirit of all things, they can canonize many races." Xiang Cheng thought for a moment and said, "Ziaduo was the one who canonized me. In fact, when it comes to this matter, you have a hard time saying if it's a big deal or not, but it's a kind of recognition. This recognition will actually awaken its heart." "Was it like that?" After a moment of reflection, Ji Ziaduo resisted it a bit, but from the perspective of transformation, he could indeed feel the existence of that recognition. "You guys better be careful of that guy," Ji Ziaduo said. "He can summon gods. When Qi Wei fought him, he actually called upon a god by using a specific kind of witchcraft. Although it was only for a short time, guess what god he summoned?" "It couldn't be Buddha, right?" Chen Zhen said. "He summoned a Shiva," Ji Ziaduo said. "With just one stab, he stabbed Qi Wei's spell into nothing." Xiang Cheng. Chen Zhen. "It's absolutely true," Ji Ziaduo said. "I'm very sure it was a Shiva, and other strange things may happened as well." "When he ran away, he didn't summon any gods," Xiang Cheng said. "Why didn't he summon them then?" "There may be restrictions on when he can," Chen Zhen thought for a moment and said, "It's fine, my heart lamp can restrain it. As long as it's not the power generated by Yao or magical artifacts, the heart lamp can melt it away. Why don't we go check on him?" Chen Zhen was a bit worried about Qi Wei. "I'll go ba," Ji Ziaduo said. Xiang Cheng signaled to Ji Ziaduo to wait in the room, but Ji Ziaduo followed him out. Xiang Cheng had to piggyback him and come to the lake. The dark clouds had receded, and a silver light covered the lake. Qi Wei was sitting by the lake in a daze. "Shh." Ji Ziaduo gestured to Xiang Cheng to put him down and slowly walked over. Xiang Cheng stood behind the tree, watching Ji Ziaduo and Qi Wei. Qi Wei glanced up at Ji Ziaduo. "Go behind the tree," Ji Ziaduo urged Qi Wei. Go, quickly." The lake was completely calm, and Ji Ziaduo asked Qi Wei to hide behind a tree. He then walked to the end of the dock, turned around, sat down with his back to the lake, and said, "Yuju, are you still there?" He knew that the Jiao must still have something to say to him, but had been interrupted by Xiang Cheng earlier. Sure enough, the lake whirled into a whirlpool, and a huge creature poked its head out of the lake and appeared in front of Zhi Ziaduo. Zhi Ziaduo had his back facing it, and Yuju transformed into a human and stepped onto the shore. Qi Wei's eyes widened, and he looked at Yuju in the distance. Zhi Ziaduo glanced at the lake water, which reflected Yuju's face. Zhi Ziaduo had only glanced unintentionally, but was startled and looked at him steadily through the lake water. Zhi Ziaduo. Zhi Ziaduo almost thought that was Qi Wei. The two of them looked exactly alike. You guys. Zhi Ziaduo was dumbfounded and said, "Are you two brothers?" Yuju said, "Don't we really look alike?" Yuju had a calm demeanor and was wearing slim-fitting pants and a black top. His hair was very short, and it looked as if Qi Wei had a new big brother. "This is the appearance of the ancestor of the Qi family," Yuju said. "Over the years, I remember his appearance the most clearly, so after his death, I chose to use this form." "So, Qi-Qi's ancestor looked like this, Zhi Ziaduo said. "So, you know why I chose him and gave him the power to command the five-colored Xiao," Yuju said. "The two of them look very much alike, and bring up memories of the past for me." "What did you want to ask me before Xiang Cheng came?" Zhi Ziaduo asked. "I have been waiting for 1,000 years, Yuju replied. "I have reached a bottleneck in my cultivation and I don't know how to turn into a dragon. I would like to ask you for advice on how the boss snake transformed into a dragon." "I don't know." This question actually caught Zhi Ziaduo's attention. Zhi Ziaduo had no idea how the soul of the boss snake ultimately turned into a dragon. This was an unexplored field in metaphysics, at least for now. Even the study of dragons by the Zhuhua sect had not delved into this level. There were dragons in the heavens and earth, but dragons were not born as dragons. The dragon had 9 sons, so even descendants of dragons were not dragons. Chaiwen, Daodi, and other Yao tribes were only powerful Yao that still needed to cultivate to transform into dragons. The boss snake had an obsession with transforming into a dragon, Zhi Ziaduo said. It also lasted for thousands of years and never achieved it. In the end, it seems that it was due to some experiences. Based on my understanding, it's like this. Zhi Ziaduo looked at the reflection of Yuju in the lake and said, "It's not necessarily accurate, and after all, my Shifu also didn't know either. When Xiang Cheng transformed into a dragon, there was the influence of the heavenly tribulation and the earth veins there, but I think these were all secondary. The most important thing was his own heart, carrying a keen and strong wish. I think Xiang Cheng was at the last moment." That moment. Zhi Ziaduo remembered the moment when the boss snake transformed into a dragon. He didn't actually want to become a dragon, Zhi Ziaduo said. In fact, he never thought about this issue. Yuju just listened quietly. Zhi Ziaduo explained incoherently, "I guess his strongest wish at the time was just to survive, to protect the person who was important to him, to do his best, to..." Zhi Ziaduo vaguely grasped this point. "This cannot be expressed with words," Zhi Ziaduo said in the end. "The Dao that can be trodden is not the enduring and unchanging Dao, so it's a kind of..." After accumulating to the peak, the will of heaven suddenly opens up, and in the state of having no self, you transform. "I understand," Yuju said. "What do you understand?" Zhi Ziaduo asked. Yuju didn't answer, silently staring at the distant mountains. Zhi Ziaduo said, "I think you can chat with Qi Wei. Aren't you capable of transforming into a human? You can go out with him and accumulate some experiences. Maybe one day you'll become enlightened." "I never speak to Qi Wei," Yuju said. "Seeing him is like seeing the person from back then. Although I have forgotten the name of his ancestor, over the years, I have often looked at him through the reflection of the lake." "Why not communicate with him?" Zhi Ziaduo asked. Yuju said, "Because humans will die soon, and I don't really want to make friends." Zhi Ziaduo remained silent. "But he has said a lot in comparison, and he's told me, Yu Ju said, he wants to leave the family and become a free man. He no longer needs me now, and I also believe that the responsibility of the family should not be placed on him. So, will you still come back? Ji Xiaoduo asked. Yu Ju replied, after listening to your words, I am considering whether to switch to another place to cultivate. Over the years, I have only focused on cultivating wholeheartedly, aiming to transform into a dragon, but I seem to have overlooked the most important point. Ji Xiaoduo understood, and Yu Ju said, I should enter the world. You can cultivate with our Yaoguai, Ji Xiaoduo said. The Kun King has left, and the water tribes still lack a leader. Yu Ju laughed and shook his head. Ji Xiaoduo thought, that's right, Yu Ju's goal is to transform into a dragon, and being suppressed by Xiang Cheng's dragon power every day would probably be very painful. Then where are you planning to enter the world? Ji Xiaoduo asked. Perhaps Nanyang, Yu Ju explained, Datuk Jinxiu's people have begged me to go there. Although the way he summoned me was not polite or cultured, I still plan to go to Nanyang to live for a period of time. Ji Xiaoduo knew that for humans, Yu Ju's period of time may be 300 to 400 years. If Yu Ju became a dragon in Malaysia, they would never see him again. Aren't you reluctant to leave here? Ji Xiaoduo said, actually, people still miss their hometowns. Yu Ju replied, coming and going, 100 years pass in a snap of a finger. I have already become accustomed to it, and there are things I cannot bear to part with in every period of time. After it passes, though, I will forget. In these years, the only thing I care about is Chi Wei. I watched him grow up. On the day he was born, his father carried him here for me to see. Ji Xiaoduo let out an ah and said, but he didn't live with the Chi family after that. Yes, Yu Ju replied, after that day, he stayed at his mother's house, not lacking for food or clothing, and grew up healthy. I often went to his grandmother's house to see him and bring him something. All the way until after his father's death. In a sense, when he returned here, and every time he looked into the lake, I would look at him. Xiang Cheng and Chi Wei stood behind the trees. Xiang Cheng glanced at Chi Wei and patted him on the shoulder. Will you be lonely? Ji Xiaoduo asked, we still have many Yaoguai friends that we can introduce to you. Our family's corpse ghost king may really want to be brothers with you. Yu Ju smiled and said, no need, I think it's fine this way. I never told him this before, just because I was afraid it would weigh him down. Now that he's grown up and doesn't need me anymore, as long as he knows what he wants to do, that's fine. The sun had risen, and Yu Ju said, thank you very much. You're welcome, Ji Xiaoduo said. On behalf of Xiang Cheng and all the Yaoguai, we welcome you to the sacred land any time to play. If I have time, I will definitely visit, Yu Ju replied. Yu Ju transformed into a Qiao, its scales shimmering with a colorful glow in the morning light, and it turned around and plunged into the lake. Ji Xiaoduo yawned and stood up to see Chi Wei standing under the tree, silently gazing at the lake. End chapter. Post-training notice. National First Class Registered Exorcist. Extra chapter. The Dragon of the Tides, Part 7. At 8 o'clock in the morning, Ji Xiaoduo and Xiang Cheng had finished breakfast and were lying in bed. I think that the way the immortal Jiao talks feels a lot like how Chi Wei does, Ji Xiaoduo said. That tone always has the demeanor of a big brother next door. Do you think Yu Ju usually imitates Chi Wei's every move as well? Ji Xiaoduo had been thinking about this issue the entire way home. By transforming into a human, Yu Ju would imitate humans. It saw very few humans, so within these years, he would have to be imitating Chi Wei to some extent. Am I not like a big brother next door? Xiang Cheng's focus was not on what Ji Xiaoduo wanted to express at all. Not really, Ji Xiaoduo said. So, what am I like? Xiang Cheng, wearing a black vest and sports pants, was lying down on the bed. He pulled up the blanket so that it covered the two of them, reached his left hand over to touch Zhi Ziaduo's arm, and held his hand. You used to be duck gur, then you were migrant worker gur, and then express delivery gur, and now you're the roguelike big brother who helps old ladies carry rice in the neighborhood, Zhi Ziaduo said sincerely. Xiang Cheng. You have a vibe of being the boss of a triad, Zhi Ziaduo said. Zhi Ziaduo burst into laughter, and Xiang Cheng said, stop worrying about him. Go to sleep, ba. When the time comes, everyone will naturally understand. Has a spell been cast on Qi Wei? Zhi Ziaduo asked, shrinking under the blanket. Xiang Cheng said, there is a kind of spell called emotional surrender. Dadak should have cast emotional surrender, but he didn't dare to make it too obvious, otherwise he would have been noticed. When we searched Dadak's house, Xiao Lang discovered it and deactivated the spell. What? Zhi Ziaduo exclaimed in surprise, he can even undo spells. The heart lamp. Xiang Cheng said, with the silence of all magic spell, Chen Zhen removed all the casting items of that spell. No wonder. Zhi Ziaduo suddenly realized, but Han Ro's spell is still in the hands of that guy, Xiang Cheng replied, I have already mobilized all the Yao Guai to find him. He should be hiding not too far away. What are you doing? Zhi Ziaduo was holding the mask used for black magic in his hand, flipping it back and forth. He was wondering if he could trace the whereabouts of Dadak based on the mask. Can that guy still be found? Zhi Ziaduo asked. It's very troublesome, Xiang Cheng said. The first time, we alarmed him, so now it's not easy to find him. Xiang Cheng pressed one hand on Zhi Ziaduo's mask, trying to take it away. Do you want to give it a try? Zhi Ziaduo asked. Don't mess around, Xiang Cheng said. In fact, many of Malaysia's spells came from China, Zhi Ziaduo said. All the laws in the world come from three places, the heavens, the earth, and people. No matter how the world changes, this point cannot be escaped. In a broad sense, heaven, earth, and people referred to the heavenly veins, with the powerful power of the heavens and gods, the earth veins, with ghosts and other related entities, and all living beings in the heavens and the earth. Although as he gradually learned and knew more, Zhi Ziaduo felt even more ignorant about the world. However, the larger principles gradually revealed some imperceptible patterns as he became a Yao-subduing engineer. All the spells in the world could not fall out of these three categories. The spells of Xiang Cheng and Chen Zhen came from the heavens, they were the power of the heavenly veins. Zhi Ziaduo gradually learned about Qi Wei and also learned about some of the Qi family's spells. Feng Shui mostly used earth spells. The first seal that Qi Wei formed with his hands when casting was actually a spatial spell that communicated with the immortal Jiao. The dragon he summoned was not a real dragon, but the power that the Jiao transmitted to him through a contract. As for where these 5 colored dragons existed, Zhi Ziaduo was not sure. His preliminary speculation suggested that the Jiao clan should each secretly have cultivated around the earth veins, while the water dragons stayed in the deep sea and the fire dragons remained in the lava. Although he was very curious, he still didn't dare to delve into the principles of the Qi family magic. After all, it was a secret, undisclosed family tradition. Black magic was a magical technique that targeted people, just like the way ghosts and spirits did, mixed with a little power from the earthly veins. Zhi Ziaduo stood up, picked up his pen, pondered for a moment, and began to change Dadak's mask. He added some runes on top so that now the direction of the black magic in the mask would be changed. Come on ba, Zhi Ziaduo was a bit nervous. I'll do it, Xiang Cheng said. Your dragon power is too strong, Zhi Ziaduo said. He would immediately undo the black magic. I'll go, and then you pour your dragon power into the ring and use your Anja chakra to see what I'm seeing. Then try to drag out your talk with him as long as possible, Xiang Cheng said. I'll be in charge of observing the location he is hiding in. Use this, Zhi Xiaoduo said, digging out a brush and dipping it in some cinnabar. This is my patented product, which can find the direction of the caster based on the flow and connection of mana. After he finished speaking, Zhi Xiaoduo put on the mask and, in a buzzing moment, a brilliant radiance appeared in front of him. As if he was crossing through time and space, he appeared in an abandoned warehouse. Datuk Jingxia was dressing his wounds when a wooden carving in the warehouse suddenly emitted a strong light, causing him to immediately turn pale and back up. The wood carving was now attached to Zhi Xiaoduo's soul, and he gazed at Datuk Jingxia. Datuk Jingxia. Zhi Xiaoduo, he, I really caught you. Datuk Jingxia was furious and about to do a control spell, but Zhi Xiaoduo shouted out, wait. In the bedroom, Xiang Cheng held Zhi Xiaoduo's hand in his left hand, their rings overlapping and glowing with light. The brush in his right hand unconsciously moved in a circle, and he began to draw the direction of the warehouse Zhi Xiaoduo was in. Datuk Jingxia, what exactly is your identity? A Yao subduing engineer, Zhi Xiaoduo said, a member of the Chinese exorcism committee. Don't be nervous. Your mask fell into my hands, and I simply reversed the spell. I just wanted to ask you a few questions. Datuk Jingxia coldly said, if you want to catch me, there's no need to keep trying futilely. Tell your way that the place where the dragon of the tides lives is the sea, not such a shallow pond. Is that why you used black magic to manipulate Hanro? Zhi Xiaoduo said, you obviously didn't understand. The immortal Jiao loves Qi Wei more than you. Even if it's a small pond, as long as it feels like it's home, it won't go with you. Upon hearing these words, Datuk Jingxia grew furious and said, that trash. What qualifications does he have to obtain the power of the dragon of the tides? Qi Wei is indecisive, Datuk Jingxia said. From the first time I met him, he's shown himself to be ignorant, without any of the qualities that the head of the family should possess. That's your older cousin, Zhi Xiaoduo said. Don't you feel awkward dating him using Hanro's body? Datuk Jingxia immediately couldn't say anything now. Zhi Xiaoduo smiled and said, it can't be that as you kept dating him, you fell for your cousin, right? Shut up. Datuk Jingxia roared angrily, that fool. He has pretty much defiled the noble dragon clan's blood. How could he fall in love with a mortal girl? Dragon clan blood. The corner of Zhi Xiaoduo's mouth twitched. Are you serious? Datuk Jingxia couldn't help but pant for breath and said coldly, if it weren't for the dragon power in you, I would have long ago already. Stop it, Zhi Xiaoduo considered things, unsure if Xiang Cheng had found the position of this guy yet, as he rambled, since you hate Qi Wei so much, why don't you just ensnare him? Datuk Jingxia snorted coldly and looked at Zhi Xiaoduo with hatred. Zhi Xiaoduo figured that he was not yet 20, so that meant that the last time he came to the Qi family as a guest, he hadn't even been 10 yet. Because he's afraid of you, Xiang Cheng's voice said in Zhi Xiaoduo's heart, Qi Wei took you to see Hanro, and he must have told Hanro a lot about us, so he was afraid that we would expose his plan. Zhi Xiaoduo thought, is that how it is? Xiang Cheng replied, we have already found his location. Speak some harsh words and withdraw. I won't spare you, Datuk said with a slightly twisted expression. When the dragon of the tides comes to our side, I will definitely settle this score with you. Zhi Xiaoduo said, you already have a contract with Hinduism. You can use magic to invite Shiva to possess you, and since you already have Shiva's powerful divine power, what would you want the dragon of the tides for? Datuk snorted coldly, and Zhi Xiaoduo suddenly thought of a crucial point and muttered, I guess you can't summon Shiva to deal with your enemies in Malaysia because they also believe in Hinduism. Is that it? Zhi Xiaoduo raised his eyebrows, and Datuk finally couldn't bear it anymore. He shouted, fuck off. Zhi Xiaoduo quickly took off his mask and returned to his bedroom. Xiang Cheng saw that Zhi Ziaduo had returned safely, so he took a phone call as he dressed himself, before heading downstairs. You should sleep at home for a while. Stop making trouble. Zhi Ziaduo said, how could I possibly sleep? Have you found where he is? Xiang Cheng was about to go out and said, Datuk has run away again, but they are following him. Whatever, let's go together, get in the car. Great King, all your subordinates are ready, Feng Li's voice said on the phone, he plans to leave Guangzhou. Prepare to surround him, Xiang Cheng said. Don't let him run away. Several cars were parked at the exit of the highway, and Zhi Ziaduo asked, where is he? On the bus to Shaoguan, Feng Li replied, both trains and flights will be monitored. I have arranged for a Yao Guai to take the same bus as him. Even now, he still doesn't know how we found him. A car arrived and turned out of the toll station. The car door opened, and Chi Wei came out with a bag. Xiang Cheng. Chi Wei said, has he arrived yet? Did Chen Zhen ask you to come? Xiang Cheng asked. Chi Wei threw a cigarette to Xiang Cheng, but didn't say anything. Xiang Cheng raised his hand to catch it and glanced at Chi Wei. Are you okay? Zhi Ziaduo observed Chi Wei. Me. Chi Wei was a bit confused and said, I'm fine. What's wrong? Zhi Ziaduo said, Hanro, she. I have to catch Datuk, Chi Wei said, and make him surrender. Oh, Zhi Ziaduo said, then will you still get married when you go back? Don't mention it. Chi Wei didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Would I be marrying Datuk instead? Impossible. Zhi Ziaduo held his forehead with his hand, it was really awkward. When Chi Wei met Datuk in a bit, who knows what he would do? Would he beat him up? The bus has arrived, Feng Li said over the phone. A tourist bus arrived at the toll booth, and a group of people immediately stepped forward. Chen Zhen got out of a car and showed his credentials, while from behind, Kita drove his car over and blocked the bus from backing up. Official inspection. Chen Zhen, dressed in a police uniform and lowering his hat, said, everyone, please get out of the bus and cooperate. Zhi Ziaduo glanced over and saw Datuk Jingxiu sitting in the last row by the window. The people on the bus were getting off one after another, but only he was still sitting there. Then, Datuk looked over at Zhi Ziaduo, and a strange smile appeared on his face. Zhi Ziaduo immediately shouted, watch out. The bus shook in an instant, and the passengers who were getting out all shouted and fled. The windows were smashed with a bang, and Kita, Xiang Cheng, and Xian Hezi simultaneously shot themselves through the windows into the bus. If all the Special Action Force members go to catch one black magician, could they really not catch him? Zhi Ziaduo really couldn't believe it, but it turned out that this guy was incredibly difficult to deal with. Chi Wei summoned a fire dragon to fly into the bus through the driver's seat. However, Datuk separated his hands and fired countless cobweb-like threads with one hand and pulled the fire dragon in. Chi Wei rushed towards him and was pulled in by Datuk, only to see a blinding light burst in the bus, exploding out and shooting a large flash from various windows. The bus suddenly disintegrated, exploded, and everyone flew out. Datuk flew into the air, and Chen Zhen shouted, guide him away. Don't fight here. Behind Datuk, the god was summoned again, and Shiva appeared with 3 eyes and 4 arms, spinning and emitting colorful light like streamers towards everyone. He overturned the vehicles outside the toll booth, and Zhi Ziaduo rushed out with his head in his arms, fleeing towards the side of the road. Xian Hezi clasped his hands and pushed out. Trees grew wildly up, covering the sky, forming a huge protective cage that covered the vehicles. Datuk once again rose up and spun in the air. It affected the entire world, making it spin along with him. Zhi Ziaduo's head spun, and he lay on the ground while shouting loudly. The world began to spin wildly. Chen Zhen took out his heart lamp, but was spun around so hard that he couldn't stand. He struggled to push out the heart lamp, but Shiva flew high into the air again, reaching a height of over 100 meters, where it overlooked the entire earth. Stupid way! Dadok's voice shouted, you have no power at all. What the hell is that? Kita roared, I'm going to throw up. Hurry up and think of something. Get up into the sky. Xiaoduo shouted, Shiva is the god of dance. When he dances, the whole world moves. I'm so dizzy, help. At that moment, with 5 angry roars, a multicolored dragon appeared on the earth, carrying Qi Wei. Xiang Cheng turned into an azure dragon, grabbing Xiaoduo and flying towards Shiva. High above the air, Shiva clapped his left hand on the drum in his right hand with a loud thud, causing a hurricane to roll up and blow away the 5-colored dragon. Chen Zhen raised his heart lamp from his spot on the ground, and it glowed with blazing light, forming a protective cover. Under the cover of that light, the power of Shiva formed the eye of the storm. Fengli and Kita transformed into a fox and wolf respectively, running around the protective cover to catch the thrown vehicles and people to drag them back. Shiva spun faster and faster in the air, and then jumped up. The earth began to shake violently, and all vehicles bounced up and were thrown flying out by centrifugal force, like a typhoon sweeping in. The barbed wire on the highway was destroyed, forming a tornado that flew away in all directions. Xiaoduo, who was down on the ground, felt like the earth and sky around him were spinning madly, while Qi Wei tried his best to control the 5-colored dragon, circling around Shiva and rotating in sync with Dadok, circling around and around, getting closer to the center. Spin around Dadok! Xiaoduo shouted. The azure dragon also spun around. Shiva took off the cobra on his neck with one hand and shook outward. Immediately, a storm of snakes flew out. At that moment, a bright light glowed on the azure dragon's head, and a dragon chant sounded. With a loud bang, the cobras scattered in all directions under the dragon's power. We'll cover you! Xiaoduo shouted to Qi Wei. The azure dragon was too huge to go in circles around Shiva, and the 5-colored dragon controlled by Qi Wei shone brightly, avoiding the storm around Shiva. Qi Wei braved the strong winds and didn't stop trying to encircle Shiva. He had no time to take care of his teammates and was still using spells to summon more dragons. Shiva continued to expand the range of his power while spinning at high speed, until finally, almost a square kilometer was covered in Shiva's spell. The trees on the mountains were uprooted and about to be sent flying, creating an extremely shocking scene in the sky. The 5 elements shimmered, and thousands of shining dragons circled Shiva, spinning and dancing like the wind. Qi Wei rushed towards the spinning Dadok, who opened his third eye on his forehead. Qi Wei was hit by the light from that eye, and thousands of colorful rays wrapped around his body. Shiva suddenly stopped, and the powerful inertia made the earth roar, causing all the cars and people to be thrown far off into the distance together. Then Shiva spun around again, now spinning in the opposite direction. Qi Wei roared loudly, entangled in countless threads, spinning at high speed in the air, and the centrifugal force made him almost spit up blood. You gave up on your own, you can't do anything, Dadok sneered. I haven't given up yet, Qi Wei said with some difficulty. Even if I give up, I won't hand it over to you. If you already have control of Hinduism in your hands, why, return. Dadok coldly said, the dragon of the tides has already agreed to leave and follow me. As for you, what can you do? Did you forget what I taught you? Yu Ju's voice echoed behind Qi Wei. Qi Wei. Qi Wei suddenly opened his eyes wide. One palm pressed against his back, and suddenly the centrifugal force of Shiva's spinning stopped pulling on him. Immediately after, Qi Wei pulled back his hands, and a dragon shot towards his body, glowing brightly as it merged into a huge mountain dragon with shining scales, which carried Qi Wei towards Dadok. Qi Wei shouted loudly, and in an instant, he was in front of Dadok. Qi Wei extended his 2 middle fingers, and bright light burst out of his fingertips, shining towards the third eye on Dadok's forehead. A powerful storm swept up high in the sky, causing the Shiva summon to separate from Dadok. Immediately after, a beam of the heart lamp shot out from the ground, piercing through the sky. Dadok lost all his mana, and the grey wolf rushed in and bit him, dragging him towards the ground. With a long cry, the azure dragon lifted himself high and flew into the sky carrying Zhi Xiaoduo. The mountain dragon carried Qi Wei up, flying high. Zhi Xiaoduo finally gasped for breath and felt like he was about to die. The earth was a mess, and Qi Wei knelt on one knee on top of the mountain dragon's head, coughing uncontrollably. The azure dragon drew closer, and the two huge dragon-shaped creatures kept approaching each other in the air. Zhi Xiaoduo noticed that the mountain dragon was different from the boss snake before it had transformed into a dragon. You could tell that it was a jiao that hadn't cultivated very long, with 4 claws, but no horns protruding from its head like the boss snake had. Qi Wei. Zhi Xiaoduo said, "Are you okay?" Qi Wei managed to nod and said, "I'm fine." "As long as you're fine, that's good." Zhi Xiaoduo laughed. "We're going home to sleep," the azure dragon said. "You clean up the battlefield yourself." Zhi Xiaoduo was carried away by the azure dragon, who turned around and flew away. The Jiao dragon carried Qi Wei and flew towards the ground. "Wait," Qi Wei said, "Immortal, immortal Jiao." The 5-colored dragon stopped in the air and slowly drifted down, without answering Qi Wei's words. "I remember when I was very young." Qi Wei said, "Around when I was 5 years old, one night I woke up and found myself on a mountain." "Did you take me there?" "That was the peak of Dupang Mountain," the Jiao dragon replied. "I wanted you to see the place you would protect when you grew up. South of the 5 ridges is Lingnan, where your Qi family has lived for generations." "I thought it was a dream," Qi Wei replied, "and I also never thought it was you." Entering the circle of 10,000 mountains, as you pass one mountain, another blocks your way. The Jiao dragon drew close to the ground, and Qi Wei jumped down. Feeling thoughtful, the Jiao dragon glanced at Qi Wei. One person and one dragon gazed at each other for a moment. Qi Wei wanted to say something more, but the Jiao dragon turned around and disappeared into the air. *****. 3 days later. Chen Zhen handed the final report to Xiang Cheng, who casually glanced at it. Dadok Jingxiu. Xiang Cheng casually read, "The Malaysian black magician, in order to gain the power of the Qi family to summon dragons, lurked in Guangzhou, used Han Ro's identity to approach the Special Operations Group member Qi Wei, and used witchcraft to influence Qi Wei, with the aim of forcing him to resign from his position as the head of the family." Are you sure you want to write this? You will expose all the shame of the Qi family this way. Change it as you like, Ba, Chen Zhen said. Anyway, it was written by Zhi Xiaoduo. The writing style is pretty good. Xiang Cheng changed his tune and said, "That's settled then." The special action team still needs to be established, Chen Zhen said. The fight this time was really messy. You're right, Xiang Cheng stood up and said, "In the future, you will be the team leader. Work hard with Comrade Xian Hezi, and the future of the team is entrusted to you." "I won't do this job," Chen Zhen said. "You be the team leader, and you work hard with Kita." "You do it." "You do it," Chen Zhen insisted. Xiang Cheng picked up his jacket and went out. Chen Zhen asked, "Where are you going?" "To pick up Xiaoduo and your little brother," Xiang Cheng said casually. ******. In the hospital ward, Han Ro woke up. Han Ro said, "Qi Wei? Why are you here?" Qi Wei smiled and said, "Are you feeling better now?" Han Ro frowned and said, "I had a very long dream." "If you're fine, that's good," Qi Wei said. "Rest well." "This is..." Han Ro noticed Zhi Xiaoduo sitting next to Qi Wei. "My Didi," Qi Wei introduced him. "Hello," Zhi Xiaoduo waved to Han Ro. Hanro smiled at him and said, "Why did Chi Wei run over here to see me?" "I heard you were sick," Chi Wei explained. "I was in the area, so I came to see you and bought you some fruit." "That's really too much," Hanro said hastily. "It's okay," Chi Wei said. "Take good care of yourself." Hanro nodded awkwardly, and Chi Wei stood up and said, "I'm leaving now. Let's meet again if we have a chance to." Chi Wei and Hanro shook hands, and he left with Zhi Xiaoduo. ******. In the evening, the two of them were leaning against the railing by the river, watching the sunset. Zhi Xiaoduo asked, "Has Dadak left yet?" "He paid up, apologized, and was deported," Chi Wei replied. "When he came to my house as a child, he was quite a brat. I was very polite, but he just turned up his nose at me, and I didn't want to argue with him. So, it was a brat that triggered all this bloodshed." Zhi Xiaoduo didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Chi Wei didn't speak, just shaking his head and laughing. "You just look like you can be easily bullied," Zhi Xiaoduo couldn't help but pinch Chi Wei's shoulder. "I can't help but want to bully you when I see you as well." Chi Wei grabbed Zhi Xiaoduo's hand and said, "Don't make a fuss or I might end up being killed by Xiang Cheng." Zhi Xiaoduo laughed heartily. "Perhaps, deep down, he was just trying to catch my attention," Chi Wei said. "Most brats are like this." Seeing that I didn't pay much attention to him, he just held a grudge in his heart but he still yielded and apologized. Zhi Xiaoduo asked. "It's his parents over there who came specifically to apologize," Chi Wei said. "The Malaysian side of the family is a bit beset with both internal and external troubles, and the situation is very chaotic. They originally asked Dadak to bring a few black magicians to the Chi family to request an alliance. Perhaps Dadak felt that requesting assistance from his cousin was a shameful matter, and it would be easier and more convenient to bring back the whole immortal Chiao," Chi Wei said casually. "They apologized to us as the head of the household. Will you still take action?" Zhi Xiaoduo asked. Chi Wei thought for a moment and asked Zhi Xiaoduo, "Do you think I should take action?" Zhi Xiaoduo said, "I suddenly feel like going to Malaysia and Malacca to play." Chi Wei laughed heartily, with one hand resting on Zhi Xiaoduo's shoulder, his mouth curving into a smile. "I'm going to Kuala Lumpur in the summer," Chi Wei said. "If everything goes smoothly, I'll let you all know, and everyone can come together for a vacation. How does that sound? Are you taking the immortal Chiao?" Zhi Xiaoduo asked. If he's willing," Chi Wei said, "I really want to take him abroad to look around." "This was all too easy for Dadak's family," Zhi Xiaoduo said. "No it wasn't," Chi Wei replied. "The clearance fees on the highway, the work expenses for the troubles made in China, the affected people. Hanro's compensation and damages fees. Altogether, teacher Dishuman really hit them hard in the end. However, his family has money, it's just that the fighting between the leaders is too fierce. The factions in Malaysia are too diverse, and it is very difficult to say when there is a risk of family downfall. Therefore, they are particularly ruthless in their actions, and we cannot completely blame Dadak." Zhi Xiaoduo said, "Have you thought through everything with Hanro?" Chi Wei opened the ring box, looked at it, took out the ring, thought about it, held it in his hand, and then threw it into the Pearl River. The ring flashed in the air and fell into the river, creating a splash of water. Chi Wei laughed and said, "I'll go to your house for dinner tonight." "Let's go ba," Zhi Xiaoduo smiled. As soon as they turned around, a figure quickly rushed over while stripping off his clothes, leaving only his underwear on. He was all pale muscle, and he went over the railing with his feet bare, diving into the river with a splash. "Zhi Xiaoduo! Chi Wei! Xian Hezi!" Chi Wei shouted towards the river, "Don't go down there and pick it up. Be careful of catching a cold. I'll give you another one when you propose to someone." Xianhezi emerged from the river and shouted towards the shore, "It's okay. I can find it. Don't worry about me. Send me another one later." "You just said it yourself." Xiaoduo heard it too. Zhi Xiaoduo. ******. The spring in Lingnan was warm and fresh, with the spring breeze filling the wild. The flowers bloomed all over the mountains, and petals flew towards the lake. Qi Wei walked to the lake, rolled up his pants, sat down, and cast his fishing rod. As he fished, footsteps came from behind. Qi Wei didn't look back, and that person sat down next to him. The two of them sat side by side, facing the blue-green lake. The mountains were stacked one after another, birds flew by, and the lake was clear and the mountains were beautiful, all in one color. Qi Wei Extra Chapters. Dragon of the Tides. End.